Hey, how's it going? I want to make a video talking about the new content in my Caterpillar Adventure update, as it's quite extensive from the original iteration. When I finished the development of that first version of the game, I was really excited making the levels and I wanted to keep adding on to it, kind of making not really like a sequel, but just kind of extending that original project to make it more full-fledged. There were some ideas I had right when I finished that I wanted to try out because I was using Corgi Engine, and there was a couple different tools that they had that I didn't get to try out. Like there's an auto move, kind of like Super Mario Run, where you go or your character moves automatically, that I wanted to try out, and I was able to incorporate into this one. But I didn't really have too many full-fledged ideas because I put all of those into the first game, so I kind of took some time to like play around with different things and see what I can add. One of the first things I added was the idea of medals, which were I wanted to add different collectibles besides just like the fruits, which act kind of like a Mario coin, but I wanted to add something more like the Mario Star coins, where once you collect them, you can find a couple different ones, just to reward the player for like exploring or doing different tasks. Like one of the ones was defeat a couple enemies and then you'll like one will pop up, or explore and like find different things. So I was happy to incorporate it in like a unique way. So while the game doesn't have like progress save, it does have it where they'll have UI and it'll play like an animation once you collect it, and it'll disappear from the level. So it's like a nice little reward for exploring and collecting. That was one of the first things. Some other things we added was different like UI elements, where there's like a sound bar now, where the sound bar can increase the volume of everything or decrease the volume. Some small little touches like that to help add to the game. In terms of like wholly original levels besides the auto move ones, some ideas I got was I took some time playing different platformers like Super Mario World, and one of the cool things in that game is they have a bunch of different enemies, but they iterate on those enemies to make feel different, even though technically they have the same abilities or the same types of things that the other enemy can do. So for an example, like a Koopa Troopa, there's like ones that could fly, but then there's also the bat enemy that can move in like a U pattern. So, or in different patterns to like follow the player, like how the ghosts do it. So I wanted to add like different enemies in that type of way because I had a couple from the original game, but I wanted to add some more diversity. So that's where the mosquito came into it. That one's like a bug that's big. You can like bounce on it a couple times and it moves in that like sort of U pattern, and other different patterns. So like kind of like a C in like some instances, or in a U. So that was one of the big ideas for the first level of the game, Floral Fields. So it was that idea, and then I took an idea that I already had, which was these like spider webs, which were kind of like a ladder you can like move across, and then took that where it can now move. So incorporating that made it like feel a little different, and with the new enemies, so you can like move on that. So it felt really different than some of the other levels that I created, so I was happy with that. I also incorporated two other enemies. So it was one that's a stationary mole where it like shoots at you. So it took some of the ideas from the shooter levels of the bee shooter game or level, and kind of incorporated to like a normal station. You can't really shoot at him, but you have to avoid his obstacles. And there's the same, which is like similar, but it's more in a where it doesn't target you, it just goes in a direction, and that's the acid plant of this level. So I was really happy with this one, and it helped inspire some of the ideas for the other levels. The next one I wanted to do was a lot of the levels I did in the first one and in this one, they're more of the linear progression. So you start here and you try to go to the end. I explored a little bit with the lofty lodges to have a more like an exploratory level where there's different things and you can pick whichever order. But I wanted to take that idea and do something very similar with it, but kind of different at the same time. So this one was the Pastoral Pathways, where it's kind of like a maze level. So there's like a bunch of different like plants or like different areas you can go into, and you have to kind of like figure out which is the right way to get out. So that one was a cool idea. And then a cool concept I was able to add was there's in Corgi Engine, there's a way where you can put it where you can gain abilities, but also where you can remove it. And I like this idea because when developing for the caterpillar and butterfly, they have their unique abilities, but the butterfly is like a little difficult to develop for because it can like fly. So a lot of the challenge that you get with the caterpillar of just being able to jump and then have the dash, it gets avoided with the butterfly because it can like fly over things. So having this area where you can't really fly because it takes that ability away is a very interesting idea, and I incorporate into this level and in future ones for the caterpillar as well, because it just makes it interesting. Now you have to really like test your platforming chops compared to having kind of like a getaway button with the flying, especially with the flying, because that one has like a big meter. So that was the concept for this level. I also try to include like a little challenge to get some of the medals. So it's like the timer mini games, but like kind of short in one level. So you press the button and then like a little sequence plays and you got to try to get the medal before it does. There's no real punishment for not getting it, but I thought it was like a fun little like side challenge within the level besides the normal timer mini games I put at the end. So that one's the Pastoral Pathway level. So for the next level, Lethal Lavas, I wanted to incorporate different platforming on a more linear levels with new ideas. So like the name implies, there's lava sections, which if you touch, it kills you automatically. And then within those lava sections, I kind of like faked it. So there's like a ground and then like a fireball to like jump up. So that one was cool because the ground fakes it and then it does like a jump like a normal enemy, but because it's in the lava, it like kind of looks like it's popping out of the lava. A cool little trick, but that was a new type of enemy or hazard in this level. And the other big one is different platforms that move. So I have them where they go down and they go up and you have to try to trajectory towards them. But the cool thing with the lava where it interacts is it'll go down like into the lava, so you have to kind of like avoid your way around it or hop on like a spider web to maintain and not fall into the lava. So this one may lend itself pretty easy to level design, just kind of designing those platforms and trying to move and gradually get it more difficult as it progresses. So this one was a fun one to do, and very similarly I did quite the opposite, which was Pulverizing Pyramids. This one's not the next level, but it's a little one later, but it's very similar to this one, where it's the opposite concept. So there's like lava and stuff, but instead of moving up, the platforms kind of go down, and it has this Corgi engine ability, which is called Crush the player. So like it'll crush and detect if the player's like within the platform above it, and then it'll kill them. This one was a fun one to do as well, because it lends itself quite easy, just like the other one, to linear design and designing around moving through these platforms, having little safe spots, and then those safe spots get like longer as like there's more platforms to traverse. These ones are pretty fun to design, and kind of like that like more platforming rush where you have to just try to get through the level, and it's like a little tricky. So I really like these two ones. They fit really good together and incorporate those concepts that were in the first part. The next level after Lethal Lavas is Coastal Corals, and this one's very inspired for some of the exploratory levels in the first iteration of the game, where you can find different things like secret levels or the caterpillar house, and then like be able to talk to them, and then be able to play a retro level that was specifically created as like a nice little bonus. So this level takes that concept as well, where you can explore, and there's also the return of the Caterpillar game developer house, where they have a new little level, and that one, Retro Extra Blues, is inspired by having little challenges. So instead of one level that's really hard, the idea is to have it where there's a bunch of little seemingly simple challenges, or maybe not the most simple, but definitely not as hard as like one of the other ones, which are short, but a bunch of different things. But the idea is trying to do all those challenges within not dying, because there's no checkpoint. So if you die in like the 8th challenge, it'll take you all the way back. So it's kind of like a little gauntlet in that way. And I like it. I think it's the little ideas or the rooms are simple enough, but like when you die in like the later one, then you got to go back and do it all again. So it's kind of like testing your endurance in that sort of aspect. But the other idea I put into the level to help make it more explorative is the idea of having little fishes. So they kind of do like a hide and seek thing where they're hidden between different areas, and there's a special platform where when you touch it, it like disappears and like incorporates more stuff. So it kind of adds to the hide and seek thing, and you can talk to them, and the UI has like little fishes. So once you get all of them, you get the secret timer mini game bonus at the end of the game, and some extra dialogue with some the fishes and some additional characters that were in the beginning part of the game. So I like this level. I think it's like a good explorative level. Incorporates those ideas that some of the other later levels I was talking about, like Lethal Lava's Pulverizing Pyramids, that are more platforming based. This one's more explorative, so it gives that kind of balance that the first levels had. So in the first set of levels they had, after just the regular platforming levels with the caterpillar and butterfly, there was these different like special levels with the auto scrolling of two, one for caterpillar, one for butterfly, and then the shooter levels with the caterpillar and butterfly. So in this one I did a very similar thing, but instead of shooter levels I incorporated the auto move levels, but I did do two auto scrolling levels. And these ones are always fun to incorporate because they're like a little more challenging. They remind me of the Rayman Origins levels where you have to chase the treasure chest and the live dead ones. And I like designing these ones. So these two, the one for the butterfly was, instead of where the first one you go from the bottom to the top, this one you go from the top to the bottom. And it makes for challenge because you can't really incorporate your flight movement too much. So you kind of just have to go through the platforms. You have to stay in time, because if you go too far, you might hit like an obstacle and get hurt that way. But you have to stay within like the screen kind of thing. And this one's short, just like the first one, but a little challenging. So I like this one. And then for the caterpillar, I did it based on just like the butterfly from last one, where you go from the bottom to the top. And the idea with this one is based on the one from the Floral Fields, where there's a spider web and it moves. So you kind of have to go on it and stay through this area. So there'll be different hazards, those like little spooky cloud things that when you touch them, it'll stop you, or different like spikes that when you touch them, it'll hurt you. So the idea with this one is trying to stay on, and you have to move with the spider web in order to stay on and not fall off. And there's little challenges with that. So I really like this one as well. It incorporates a different challenge, and the dash, just like the butterfly, where the flight is a little hindered because of the way the level moves. In the same way, the dash, while you can use it to like help yourself out with reaching that platform, it's not like a crutch where you can do it where some of the other levels, because the level's moving up, so you can only really move up as much as well. So it's a different and interesting idea, the two levels. And then for the auto move ones, this one, they're both very linear because well, it has to be because of the auto move feature, and then the butterfly is able to fly and the caterpillar is able to dash, which adds different things. And then I try to make it more based on like precision, but obviously with the butterfly you can like fly around stuff, so that one I try to space different objects out a little bit. But these ones are a little more simple because you can incorporate the ideas of the auto movement, and then just trying to like time your jumps to either hop on an enemy or make like a platform. So I like these ones. They're maybe like a little too simple compared to some of the other ones, but they give like a different feel and add to the variety with the other levels. So these, alongside Pulverizing Pyramids, which I talked about a little earlier, are the last of the regular levels. One thing I wanted to add to this version of the game was the semblance of like a story. So something to start the game with, and then something to end. And then one thing I wanted to develop first before trying to incorporate that piece to make sure like fit together was the idea of a dedicated like end level for the caterpillar and the butterfly, and something that like accumulates the challenge and stuff and has like a boss fight at the end. This was a little difficult to develop because you have to use the AI brain for the caterpillar and the butterfly bosses. So I did it with the hornet in the first one, but that one was like a little too simple. And then I kind of did it, not really with the long boss or the centipede boss in the lofty lodges, but that one felt like a little simple as well. But for these ones, I wanted to try to give them a little bit of more depth. And after some like trial and tribulation with it, I was able to get something I'm pretty happy with, where the caterpillar, it'll like start off in like a little shell just like you do. So I kind of wanted to do that like kind of rival thing that some games do, but it'll pop out and then it'll run and jump and dash kind of like you do. So this one was a cool one. So I wanted to not just have that boss because just like the other ones, it felt by itself it might be too quick to defeat or not enough for like an end level. So one idea I thought would be to help with that was to have like a auto scroll section in the beginning, and then once it ends it takes you to that boss fight, and so it's like a kind of accumulation of the two difficult things together, and then you can defeat the level. But I wanted it to connect because I didn't want it to just have like a boss fight for the caterpillar and then nothing for the butterflies. So unlike some of the other levels where it pops you out of the back into the world map, this one, once you defeat it, it does like a little cutscene where the caterpillar, just like your caterpillar does, it can like go into a butterfly. So then it goes into the butterfly, and then you start a level as the butterfly. And in this one, I took the movement for the butterfly in the shooter levels and created like a shooter level type thing where you gotta fly through and avoid the different obstacles, and then at the end you fight the butterfly that's in like a shooter state and move around and try to shoot you. So I'm pretty happy with how these came out. I think it incorporates some of the different designs from the other levels and the different movement schemes of both the caterpillar and butterfly, with the flying thing of the butterfly where you can fly around and shoot is something different, and then the caterpillar where you have to do more platforming stuff and move around and dash, and the enemy's gonna move and dash against you. And then once you defeat the butterfly, it'll play like a little cutscene. The spooky darkness that's in every level will disappear, and then everyone will be happy, cheering, and end credits. And that's that for the main levels. I did want to incorporate some different levels. One idea I thought would be cool was to have different like enemy type levels. So I have a couple, maybe I'll add some more in the future, but I have one for the little beetle. You'll play as the little beetle. It's more like, not like a joke character, but kinda, because he's like really slow, but it's like one little level with him. And then one where you're the grasshopper, so he's slow but he's got like a bigger hop than you do. And then another jokey one was the plant. He's not an enemy, but it's a character where you talk to him a couple times, and I thought it'd be like cool to have a level where you just do nothing. The level just starts and then you fall down and that's it. That's the level. So that one was a fun, quick, very easy one to do. And then I did a fly section or fly level where you're flying as the fly and you gotta like fight your own boss as him. So it's like a bigger fly. And that one was fun to do as well. I got to do some of the shooter level that I didn't get to do for like the main set of the second levels, aside from the boss fight with the butterfly. So those are the main set of levels. And then one thing I did, or I wanted to do, and I was contemplating, was having I did in the first one the retro blues level and the retro challenge at the end. So, well, I did do, I didn't get to speak on it yet, but I did a challenge for this one. So it incorporates a bunch of the ideas similar to the first retro challenge, where it takes 4 of the levels, so Floral Fields, Pastoral Pathways, Lethal Lavas, and the Pyramid level, and incorporates the gimmicks from those ones into like a big gauntlet, tough challenge, one with checkpoints if you want to just try to complete it. And then for those who are really skilled at the game, one without checkpoints. And then like the first one, you get different dialogues and different, like, I try to add a couple more gimmicks into this one to make it really special for the people that are able to overcome the challenge. So, but I was thinking of trying to do a similar type of challenge for each of the levels, and I wasn't sure at first because the idea of the retro challenge is to kind of take the ideas and concepts from each one, but I decided to end up doing it, and I really like them. So for each of the main levels, aside from like the auto scroll ones, there's a retro challenge for it. So it kind of takes the concept or kind of reworks it into a difficult version of it. So obviously you got the retro caterpillar and butterfly, so those ones take one hit like the original game. So there's less room of error, but those levels are a lot shorter than the retro challenge, so it kind of makes up for it. But those are like more like little bonuses at the end, nothing uh, too extraneous, but something like a little fun challenge. So that's it for each of the levels in this version of the game. But one thing I wanted to do, which I didn't get to do in the first one, was add different modes or try to incorporate. So one of the things I did was a pseudo time challenge where there's no medals, but you'll like play the level and it'll like have a sign. So you go to the sign and then like a timer will start, and then you can just race through the level, try to get like a good time, and at the end it'll pop your time and stop it once you reach the goal. So this one was fun to do, is try to rework some of the levels to make it work within that like times challenge thing. So that was one mode, and I did it for each of the levels. And then the second thing I wanted to do, which was a little more challenging to incorporate, was multiplayer. So multiplayer was something I was thinking about in the original because a lot of platformers have it, like Mario, Kirby, and Rayman, all the ones I like. But it was something I found a little difficult to implement, and while I was able to implement it, I'm not really sure if it was the best type of way. So the way it is now is you can play with two players, but the camera will follow you, and you can kind of go like one player can kind of explore and the camera will get bigger. But one of the challenges with it is you can make it so like on player one I can go all the way to the end and it'll like zoom out like really big. So that one's something like where it's a little finicky. Maybe in an update or in a different version of the game I can try to like work around it. And then some levels didn't really work as well, so I had to work around them. So when you in the original game you can like go into like an area and then you can change character, it'll change character to design. So like level one, you go to the end, you click on the stem and it'll take you to a new area where you're the butterfly. But for some reason in this multiplayer one you can go and it'll put you there, but I guess the camera doesn't follow you. So a lot of things like that. So well, there is multiplayer, like those types of levels, I kind of reworked the levels. So like the first level again, that section with the butterflies kind of cut out, and it's just like an extended version with the caterpillar. So I added like a little bit, but it's obviously a little different. And then other levels, so like one thing I like doing with the ad challenge was you have to like hop on like bug. So you can hop on him to get to a platform, but obviously it doesn't work with two players because if you hop on enemy dies, then how is the other player gonna get there? So for those ones I had to rework it where I gave him like double the health or something, so that way the first player can go and then the second player can go. But if the first player gets it twice, then it'll die and you'll have to redo that part. So those are some of the things. And then a second multiplayer option I did was a little battle mode, because there's different shooter levels in the thing, so I thought it'd be fun to have like a little arena and you have to fight each other. So I did a couple levels for those, some with the butterfly, some with the caterpillar, and based on like different gimmicks. So there's like wind in one of them, there's moving platforms, one's underwater, so you have to like kind of swim and stuff, and the other one's you're the butterfly, so you have to like fly around. So those ones are pretty fun little distraction. And then the last mode I added was one that I actually was doing as like a little side thing. So I was taking a little break from development to try to see if I can add something. And then I was working on a Caterpillar Venture Game Boy, like on Game Boy Studio. So because I wanted to see if you can actually play on like different hardware. So for that one, I designed like a bunch of levels for it. And I thought it'd be pretty cool to take those levels and use the retro game, because I have the Game Boy aesthetic, it's the same sprites, and then bring them into this level or this mode. So I incorporated all of those levels into this as like a separate mode, like a side mode, Caterpillar World. So that, or Caterpillar Land. So that one's a fun little mode, and that one is also multiplayer. It works a lot better because it's designed a lot simpler, so there's no like switching, and so the levels are 1-to-1 compared to the other one, which is like 1.5 to 1. So that covers all of the modes, and then obviously because there's a lot of modes now, a lot of different things, I incorporated a level, like a menu, so now you can pick your mode and go out and then do all of those things. There's like a one for the credits. So that's the end of the main game's development. Obviously, because it's such a big update, there's a bunch of different things, and the original one just had like 1 or 2 songs. I worked with a very talented beat scribe on Fiverr to incorporate a couple new different songs, and I'm really happy with how they came out. You can hear them in a bunch of different levels, and later I'll put the soundtrack or somewhere so it can be heard. I really like it. He's very talented. It was very nice to work with him. And that was that. So when developing this one, I finished a little earlier in the year, but I decided to delay a little bit the release because, as I stated before, with the Game Boy version of the game, I wanted to start like playing with getting my games onto like actual hardware, because for me, it's cool to play on the computer, but I've never been that much of a computer guy. I've always been like a console or a handheld guy. So with saying that, one of the things I wanted to do was I ended up getting the Steam Deck, and one of the things I wanted to do was to be able to try to play my game on the Steam Deck, and thankfully, with like it's able to run and everything. I'll like wait for it to load. But yeah, it's like able to run, and it works pretty good with it. I like how, I should probably do that. So yeah, it works, but I really like how it converts well to it. I was worried initially with like a lot of different things where if you play like on a different screen, especially because this one you can like dock it and then it can go on like any TV pretty much. Where maybe the screen would like stretch too much, or maybe the icons or something would go wrong, because I know one of the things when I was initially developing some of the levels, especially the auto scroll ones, the collision I guess would move, or something would move, and then it would either not start or wouldn't like detect hitting you. But thankfully everything worked well with the Steam Deck. So yeah, and then one of the cool things about the Steam Deck is you can add different artworks. So I spent some time adding those, and I'll try to add it into the package, or maybe into one of these videos or somewhere that they can be downloaded. But yeah, so you can have it, and now you can put artwork in it. I'm not sure if I'll actually take the next step of, trying to add it to actual Steam or any other store, but I'm pretty happy with the fact that it theoretically could run on something like the Steam Deck, or could be put onto Steam. So that's a big step for me. It's something that makes me really happy, and definitely something that I could take with future development as well. And then the second part was something I wanted to try to incorporate. This one's more for me. Well, technically all of it's technically for me, but one I wanted to commemorate, because it's 1 year since the game came out, more than 1 year, but I wanted something to commemorate it, because there's a lot of work put into it that I did. There was a lot of different artworks that I did, and I wanted something to commemorate. So I was thinking for a while of something that would be it, and the one thing I was able to do, which I'm pretty happy about, is an art book. So maybe I'll give this its own video so I can talk about the process behind it. But with Barnes and Nobles and using Microsoft Word, I was able to take a bunch of the things like the loading screens and add and give them their own page. Very simple, but very nice. And then some of the pixel art as well in the background or in the last pages. So this is something I'm really happy with. It came out pretty cool. So you got like this thing. It's got like the middle part as a spine, and then the background. So I really like it. I think it's cool. I don't think I'll do it for each game, but for ones like this that have a lot of art put into it, a lot of different works that could be put into something like that, I think it's really cool. So I'm really happy with how everything came out. I'm really happy with this project. It's the biggest one I've done. It's my ideal game of something that I want to do with platformers, and I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of how it came out, and really happy that it's able to be run on a Steam Deck. It's able to play on different games and have different modes, as finicky as some of them are. And it's kind of the accumulation of everything I've been learning as a game developer. So we like last time, I do want to talk about what's next or what different projects I had. Initially, when I wrote this, because I said before, where I finished this, I wrote the script when I was done. And at that time, I wasn't really sure what the next thing would be. I maybe wanted to try something different, like a hack and slash or something, or like an adventure game. But I have a little bit better of idea what I want to do. So because this project was like a bigger one, it took like a year to develop this one, and then like a year, so almost 2 years probably coming up, summerish of development, and it's like maybe not full time, but it did take a long time to do stuff and figure stuff out. So I definitely want to do something smaller, and I am secretly working on something smaller. That way I can try to do similar to what I did with this one, where I can learn, but within some simple. So I wanted to work on something more small scale that I can learn with. I wanted to learn something that I had challenge with this game, which was level progression, and taking it, I think, into like a smaller scale is something that's helping me learn, as I'm able to focus on that and not have to worry about how it affects the levels I already made, because I made like a bunch. So trying to get something and maybe destroying that or having not work, because every time you do something, something else breaks. So I think with a new project, a smaller scale project, it's going pretty good, and I'm learning a lot, so I'm happy with it. I think after the development of my kind of small in between game, or maybe not too small, but like definitely not like this one where it's like full fledged 64 animations, or sprite animations of different cool backgrounds, a bunch of different characters and stuff. So it's a lot more simple, more like grid based. Something that I'm incorporating to is like tile sets, which are really helpful. I like them a lot. It's surprised that I'm not gonna do it like this one where I design different object. I'm gonna do tile sets from now on. But yeah, just taking those ideas into a new platformer, I think would be something that I would like to do for the future. Any 2D game, I really like working with the pixel art and doing with the Corgi engine. So something 2D platformer-ish, whether it's like a pure platformer like this, or maybe like a mix, like an action adventure game. That'd be pretty cool. But for now, I'm gonna work on this small, it's like a puzzle platformer type game, and see how that goes. And I'll make a video once I'm done developing that and talk about what's next on my mind. But yeah, I'm really enjoying developing games. I'm really happy with how this game came out and all the different cool things I was able to do with it, get it working on Steam Deck, be able to make like an art book with all I created. So it's something really happy to see how it's going and see how you can create something. So yeah, I'm really happy, and thank you for listening, and bye bye.